300 million people, one river system. 1 year ago, a treaty that survived 2 wars, 3 nuclear standoffs, and 65 years of hostility finally collapsed. The Indus Waters Treaty was once called the most successful water-sharing agreement in modern history. Today, it lies in ruins, and the consequences could reshape the geopolitics of South Asia forever. But this is not just about India and Pakistan. From the Nile to the Mekong, from the Tigris to the Colorado, water is becoming the next great weapon of the 21st century, and the world is completely unprepared. This is the story of how water became the new oil. To understand the current crisis, we must first understand the Indus River system. The Indus is one of the world's great rivers, spanning over 3,000 kilometers from the Tibetan Plateau through Pakistan and into the Arabian Sea. The basin covers an area of 1.12 million square kilometers distributed among 4 countries. Pakistan holds 47% of the basin, India 39%, China 8%, and Afghanistan 6%. For Pakistan, this river system is everything. 9 out of 10 Pakistanis live within the Indus Basin. It is the primary source of fresh water and hydropower generation. It irrigates over 80% of cultivated land. Without the Indus, Pakistan does not exist as a functioning state. In 1960, with mediation from the World Bank, India and Pakistan signed the Indus Waters Treaty. The agreement was elegant in its simplicity. India received exclusive use of the 3 eastern rivers, the Ravi, Beas, and Sutlej. Pakistan received the 3 western rivers, the Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab. The treaty governed water sharing through 2 devastating wars in 1965 and 1971, the Kargil conflict in 1999, and decades of cross-border terrorism. It was considered untouchable until April 2025. On April 22, 2025, gunmen attacked tourists in Pahalgam, in Indian-administered Kashmir. 26 civilians were killed. India blamed Pakistan-based militant groups for the attack. The response was swift and unprecedented. The next day, India announced it would hold the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance. For the first time in 65 years, the treaty was suspended. Prime Minister Modi declared that India's water would flow for India's benefit. He stated that it would be conserved for India's benefit, and it would be used for India's progress. The implications were immediate and dramatic. India stopped sharing hydrological data with Pakistan. It accelerated construction on multiple dam projects. By the end of 2026, the Jammu and Kashmir region is expected to see a 46% increase in installed hydropower capacity, a clear signal of India's intent to maximize water utilization. Pakistan's response was equally fierce. Former Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari declared at a rally in Sindh province that the Indus is theirs and will remain theirs. Either their water will flow through it or their blood. Pakistan brought the dispute to the United Nations Security Council, calling India's actions a serious violation of international legal obligations with far-reaching humanitarian and security implications. But the Indus crisis is not happening in isolation. Across the world, similar water wars are erupting. In East Africa, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, known as GERD, has become operational on the Blue Nile. Ethiopia views the project as essential for expanding electricity access to its growing population. But Egypt and Sudan, located downstream, warn that any reduction in Nile flow could devastate their agriculture and economies. The Nile provides 90% of Egypt's fresh water. There is currently no binding international agreement governing the dam's operation. In Asia, China is building the world's largest hydropower dam on the Yarlung Tsangpo River, which becomes the Brahmaputra as it enters India and Bangladesh. The project, estimated at 1 trillion yuan, will be 3 times larger than the Three Gorges Dam. Both India and Bangladesh have expressed serious concerns about water flow disruptions. No downstream treaty exists. In Central Asia, Afghanistan's plans for a new dam on the Kunar River have added strain to its already tense relationship with Pakistan. In the Middle East, Turkey's construction of dams on the Tigris and Euphrates rivers continues to affect water flow to Syria and Iraq. In North America, the Colorado River, which sustains 40 million people across 7 states and 2 countries, is now so depleted that it no longer reaches the Pacific Ocean in most years. The numbers are staggering. Half of humanity already lives under water stress. The United Nations estimates that by 2030, demand for fresh water will exceed supply by 40%. According to the World Resources Institute, 25 countries face extremely high water stress, and 17 of them are in the Middle East and North Africa. What makes the water crisis so dangerous is the absence of governance. Unlike oil markets, which have established global institutions like OPEC and the International Energy Agency, there is no comparable framework for managing transboundary water resources. The international community lacks the tools to mediate when nations weaponize rivers. Climate change is making everything worse. In the Indus Basin alone, perennial snow and ice cover declined by 24.8% between 2001 and 2021. The glaciers that feed the world's major rivers are retreating. Rainfall patterns are shifting. Droughts are becoming more frequent and severe. So what comes next? 3 scenarios are now possible. The first scenario is renewed cooperation. Pressure from international institutions, climate realities, and economic costs forces nations back to the negotiating table. Modified treaties emerge, incorporating climate adaptation and shared infrastructure management. This is the optimistic outcome, but it requires political will that currently does not exist. The second scenario is prolonged stalemate. Existing treaties remain suspended or unenforced. Countries pursue unilateral water strategies. Tensions simmer but do not erupt into open conflict. The humanitarian costs accumulate slowly, particularly affecting agriculture, food security, and population displacement. The third scenario is escalation. A drought, a failed harvest, or a perceived provocation triggers direct confrontation. In South Asia, this could mean military exchanges between nuclear-armed neighbors. In Africa, it could mean intervention in Ethiopia. In the Middle East, it could mean further fragmentation of already failing states. The Indus Waters Treaty was once held up as proof that water cooperation was possible, even between bitter enemies. Its collapse signals something profound. The era of water as a shared resource is ending. The era of water as a weapon has begun. For 300 million people in the Indus Basin, this is not abstract geopolitics. It is the difference between food and famine, between stability and chaos, between life and death. Water does not respect borders, but borders increasingly are defined by water. The world's most important treaty is dead. The water wars have begun. This has been Bordervox. If this analysis helped you understand the global water crisis, subscribe for weekly geopolitical breakdowns. Next, we explore how rare earth minerals are becoming the new oil in the technology Cold War. Stay informed, stay critical.